Hey, this is Matt Witmer from Broudy Precision. In this video, we're going to be continuing our series on Niagara Basics. It's been a little while, so we're going to jump back into it, and we're specifically going to be looking at the user service and a little bit of permissions related things. Really imperative that you understand this stuff when you're setting up a station. You don't want everyone using the same user. Very bad for auditing and making sure that people aren't doing what they're not supposed to do. So it's really important that we understand how the user service works, how the category service works, and then how we set up roles to make sure that our users only have access to do the things that they should be able to access. So before we get started, here's a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Broudy Precision, your trusted partner for building automation and controls. Now covering the entire East Coast from our Philadelphia headquarters with team members spread throughout our territory. At Broudy, we do things differently. Our Philadelphia warehouse is not just full of random product. We have thoroughly tested and vetted everything on our shelves, ensuring you can get in and out of your jobs as efficiently as possible and that we can properly support you should an issue arise, even if you're the first customer to use a new product. We're here to help you from start to finish, from product selection to technical support, with highly experienced team members in sales and engineering. We pride ourselves on giving our customers a tremendous set of resources free of charge. New to the Honeywell ecosystem? No worries, we offer customized training that meets you where you are and brings you up to speed. BP Tech Center, our software and documentation repository, was built in-house to keep you up to date with automated notifications on new software and important content releases from the vendors that you use, all available exclusively to Broudy Precision customers. In addition, our web store, with its real-time inventory, makes placing orders quick and easy so that you can get that order in even if it's 11 o'clock at night. To learn more, check us out at broudyprecision.com and store.broudyprecision.com. If you have specific questions or you would like a quote, shoot us an email at sales@broudyprecision.com or give us a call, 610-825-7200. All right, so like always, we are in our demo station here that we've been building on through this entire series, and where we are specifically going to be looking, this video is underneath our config and under our services, and we're going to get started in the user service. Sort of important that you understand what's going on here and the different options and things that are available to you so that you can better design your systems so that users have exactly the permission that they need, and you're not giving admin access to literally every user, which can lead to very bad things. So user service by default is going to bring up the HTML5 kind of view. I'm a fan of the AX one, so I'm just going to drop that down on the right here. It's a little bit faster and things come up a little bit quicker, but we get access to the same information. Someone in Tridium is rolling their eyes at me right now. I'm sorry, but speed of the AX view is really nice. So we can see here I have the admin user, which is the default, and then in this case I also have an additional user that I also created for myself. You won't see this in here if you're following along at home. So I'm going to create a new user now, and first thing you'll see is you have the ability to create multiple users at the same time if you wanted to. We don't need to, so we're just going to say a single new user. And then we get a whole bunch of different options for us, and we'll run through this list pretty quickly to explain what each individual piece does. So first, at the very top, obviously the name. This should really say username because that's what this is. This is our username. So I'm going to call this our user just for demonstration's sake here. And this is going to be our test user for the full name. You could obviously have this as the full name. You have the ability to disable a user, but keep it in the database if you wanted to do that. So that's what the enabled field does. Expiration, if you wanted to create a user that only has access for a specific period of time, you can set that by setting the expires on and then setting the end date where you don't want them to be able to access after anymore. And then we get to roles. We'll loop back to this here in a moment once we get into the category service and the role service. But this is where we define what roles a user has By default, you will have an admin one, and that has access to everything and admin privileges on everything. So only give that out to people that you trust and know need that full access. Otherwise, you should set up some additional roles that give more restrictive access. And we'll talk about that here later. Next, we have the ability to allow or disallow concurrent sessions. So if you didn't want your users to be able to be logged in at two places at the same time, you could set this to false, and they wouldn't be able to be logged in more than once. That's a pretty common ask from IT departments, so that feature is there, and you can fulfill it. Auto log off settings. So by default, you will automatically get logged off from your session, whether it's in Workbench or the browser, after 15 minutes. This is default, and you can change it here with all of these individual settings. So you could change the period if you wanted to. You can totally disable it if you wanted to. That's all available for you. Next is if this is a network user, we'll talk about that maybe some other time, but it's not really needed at the moment. Same goes for a prototype. We'll talk about that in a future video. We don't really need to talk about it now. Language, if you are using multiple lexicons to handle multiple different languages within the system, you could define what language the user is supposed to be or wants to use using that language field. Authentication scheme, if you are using a different scheme for passwords, this could be client certificates. There's a whole bunch of different options on the authentication side, which we've had some videos in the past that cover in a little bit more detail. So that's where you would set that. But then if you're using the default, which is the digest scheme, there also is this AX digest scheme. If you need to be able to interface with Niagara AX, you'll need to use that scheme. In our case, we're just using the default, which is digest scheme. And once we set that, we can also set a password. So I'm going to do that now. This will yell at you if you don't meet the requirements of what the password length and special characters and that kind of thing are. It'll yell at you there. We also have the ability to force a password reset when the user logs in. So if you don't want to know what the password is for a given user, which is probably the way it should be, you shouldn't know what their passwords are. You can force that force that reset at the next login. So once they log in, it'll prompt them to set a new password, and they can do that there. Next, we have password expiration. So you could set an expiration on the password if you wanted to do that. And then we get into some things which aren't really used for much, but it's nice to have them in the system so that you could reference them later if you needed to. Things like our email address and cell phone number. And then if we needed to do specific unit types for specific users or specific time formats, depending on where you are in the world, you look at time a little bit differently, or you format time a little bit differently, you can do that here from the facets on the user. Next, we have the nav file. We will talk about this later once we get into the PX side of things, building out our graphics. This basically tells Niagara what the home page should be for a given user. That's defined in the nav file along with some other things. But again, we'll talk about that more in the future. Next, we have our web profile. This is where we're defining the different pieces of the user interface that the user should or shouldn't have access to. On the admin side, you can obviously leave this as is, but if it's a normal user, maybe you want to restrict exactly what they can see a little bit further, so that you can do that here. And then we have the ability to set a little bit different one on mobile if you wanted to do that. And that is it for our individual user setup. So I will hit OK here on my user. You'll see it comes up now in the user manager. Next step is we want to, for demonstration's sake, for testing, playing around sake, we want to set up a folder that isn't accessible from this user. Just to demonstrate the kind of power that we have with the category service and the role service, we want to set up an area where maybe the normal user can't get to. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our playground here, and I'm going to make a new folder in here. New folder called secret, if I could spell, area. and we'll say okay. And then I'm going to open that up, and just so that we have something else inside, I'm going to call this top secret point. And then we will leave that as is. We don't need to do anything special to it. But we know, because I'm logged in as an admin user right now, that the admin user can see it. It has access to all the actions. Same with all of these other points as well. Access to the actions, and I can set and do the emergency actions as well on all of these things. What we're going to do is make it so that this secret area can't be seen at all by the user. So it can't be seen, we can't write to it, and we can't invoke any actions on it. And on this numeric writable 1, we're going to make it so that we can only do basic user actions, which means our emergency actions won't show up and won't be accessible. So let's actually put that into practice and make it happen. First thing that we need to do is go into our category service. This is where we're sort of defining different parts of our station that maybe we want to be able to tweak the accessibility settings on for given roles. So if I actually change my view here real quick, because we want to make a new category. We want to make a new category here. So we'll go to the category manager view, and I'm going to say this is a new category. We're going to call this top secret area, and we will leave that as that. And then we come back to our category browser, and we will see that our category 3 here is now called top secret area. So we will expand out our config here, and we can see exactly what we're seeing in our nav tree. So what basically all of this means is that right now, all of our config is sort of defined as being a part of the user category. And the inherit portion means that we're basically just inheriting the definition from the level above. So in this case, the config container itself is the only thing that's being set directly, and all of these other pieces are inheriting that user definition down underneath. So for our secret area, I actually want to change that to be top secret area. And for the numeric writable portion, I'm going to make this admin and not user. So we will see, now that we set these things, I'm going to hit save. We now have the ability to individually target those individual areas to give specific kinds of access. So I will go in now to my role service, and I'm going to create a new role. We'll say OK here, and we're going to call this, let's see, user. And it's not a super user, so it shouldn't have access to everything. So we're going to hit the little chevron here on the far right, and it's going to give us our permissions that we want to set on every individual piece. So on the user side, I can set read, write, and invoke. What this means is read, obviously, I can see the value, I can see the point. Write means I can change it, I can change a value, that kind of thing. Invoke means I can set or I can run an action, I can trigger an action, I guess is probably the correct nomenclature for that, which is obviously different from writing to a point. So in this case, we will want to make that, and then there's also this operator and admin piece, which is specifically on actions. So our emergency actions versus our normal actions. That is defined as an operator action, which would be our normal, set, override, that kind of thing. Admin would be a emergency override. That's an admin related action. So in this case, all the user related stuff, I'm good with this user having full access. On the admin side, I just want them to have read, write, invoke, and the top secret area, they shouldn't have access to anything. So we will say okay to both of those things. And now our role is defined, our category is defined, and now we just need to go back to our user and change it so that it is a user. I guess it's probably helpful if I change this back to AX so everything looks the way you saw it before. And I will set it as user and not as admin. Hit OK. and now we're off and running. Now I am going to come into the browser here, and I'm going to change my user so that I'm using my admin user, so you can see everything behaves in a certain way when I'm an admin. Oops, helps if I put in the correct password. And I go in and I open my playground. I can see my secret area. I can see my top secret point. I can right click and do all of my actions on all of them. No problem. Everything shows up there as I expect it to. Now, if I go in and I log out and I log back in as my user, again, helps if I use the right password. And now, if I open up my tree and open up my playground, one, you will see that top secret area is not visible at all anymore. And because we set only user actions here and not admin actions on this point, I can only do override, auto, and set. I can't do any of the emergency actions. This is tweakable if you wanted to from the slot sheet, so you can change specific actions so that they are considered operator as opposed to admin. Yeah, so that's everything is working exactly the way we expect, and you can extrapolate this obviously way further to cover way more parts of your station, and it normally relies on you doing a little bit of tweaking as you're building these things out, because obviously things get much more complicated as you are getting into larger stations and dealing with more different layers of access requirements. That is setting up our users in our demo station here in Niagara Basics. Hopefully that was helpful for you. This is a really, really critically important portion of building out a station. Too often we see people just using the admin user for everyone who logs into the station. Please, 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 if you take anything out of this video, don't do that. Make a separate user for every person who's going to be logging into the station. It'll just make your life easier down the road when you're tracking down why did this override get set. It's much easier to track that down if the user is actually the person who did it. So thanks as always for watching. We'll have plenty more obviously coming in the Niagara Basics series, and we'll probably be looping around on this Niagara Basics series once Niagara 5 is out to cover any additional things in the basics of Niagara 5 that aren't in Niagara 4. So like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below if there's anything in particular with users, category service, role service that we didn't cover that you'd like to see covered in a future video. And thanks as always for watching. We will see you in the next one. Thanks.